Just received my order from EVoffer with their newest auto opening and closing Tesla Model Y Frunk. This is what comes inside the box. There's a bunch of zip ties in there for mounting purposes. And this is what you should be getting in the box. The wiring harness looks like it's pretty confusing, but it should be pretty straightforward. And I have some of the tools that we need for the install. Okay, so step one, we have to remove this back cover right here, which just pops off without any tools. You just kind of grab and tug and it'll come loose. And then we can get this out of the way. A little bit hard to do one-handed, but just yank up and clips will come loose. And then you have bolts that you need to remove, which would help if I remove this mat here. There's a few more bolts there. I believe it's 4 10mm bolts to remove. Should be pretty quick as well. I put down the camera to remove that cover that goes over the HEPA filter. Like I said, you just tug up on it and just it goes into those. So it's pretty easy to remove with 2 hands, no tools needed. Now onto the 10mm bolts, holding this trunk subfloor in, and then we'll also remove this panel down here so that we can plug the emergency latch. You can see that I have a light strip connected to it, which won't change anything. So we're just undoing these 4 here. It's pretty straightforward. I'll probably speed this up a little bit because you're not missing much. Just wanted to make sure you guys see the 4. It's pretty obvious once you're standing in front of it. Just 10mm wrench. With this one, I loosened a little bit already. They come out pretty fast. Okay, so with the 4 10mm bolts removed, you can just lift this up and out. I'm gonna put down my phone to take this out, and then you guys will see what it looks like in the next part. Okay, I lied. So that is easy as just pulling out the trunk. This is the driver's side that I'm looking at, windshield washer fluid area. Just a little clip holding this in to the front area. And then you can just use a pick tool or a screwdriver to remove this part, and then the whole thing should come out. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the frunk removed. Excuse the power bank, I'm using it for a flashlight. So you have to undo this connector here with these 2 10mm bolts. I'll go over that later. It's best to, mark exactly where it is, so it's easier to reinstall everything later. You don't have to adjust the height of the frunk, so you still make sure it closes flush. There's a bit of other pieces here and there. I'll go over it more. This part I don't think will be too difficult. It's removing the struts that are here are a pain. So you can see what it looks like. We need to remove the bottom and the top part of the struts. And I recommend either a very thin flathead screwdriver or a pick tool, which hopefully should make things easier. Once the strut is out, you need to remove that bolt, I guess. I believe it's a 13mm. I'll confirm that in a few moments. But I'm gonna tackle the driver's side first since it's the most difficult. And then I'll move over to the passenger side. Now, the best way is to, kind of fish your hand in through here. But, I mean, it's gonna be a pretty tight fit. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this clip here. That'll allow me to move this piece out of the way a bit. And then that should make things a little easier. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is what the stock strut looks like. So you can use a pick tool or a small screwdriver. You basically wedge it there, you pull back on it, and it'll loosen it and slip out of the ball joints that's in the car. So once you remove the bottom, the frunk will start to close. So just FYI, I mean, it's not heavy, but that's why I went to go grab a stick to hold it up. I chose to kind of brace it there, so it's a little bit better. Just just in case, because we all know how flimsy the frunk is. And then you remove the bottom, you remove the top. It's the same thing, and this is what it looks like. I removed the metal piece there. It is a 13 millimeter. Just be careful that you don't, drop your wrench like I did. I mean, you can kind of fish it out, but it's still a pain. Now we're gonna, move on to installing the metal bracket that is supplied, and then onto the struts. Okay, so that's the bracket that needs to go in using the supplied, I guess, washer. It'll just sit there. Then you have an Allen key. For the life of me, can't remember what size this is, but you just kind of tighten it. I think they said it was a T12 or T25, T25 maybe. I just found one lying around at home. That will work. So this will attach basically to where the stock metal, ball joint piece was that was removed. And we'll go from there. Okay, so the bracket is in. It's a bit of a pain to access that. Let me see if it will show. There we go. It's a bit of a pain to access that bolt right there. There's not a lot of room to get anything in. I tried like a stubby little ratchet screwdriver thing. There's just not a lot of room. So I just resorted to an Allen wrench and kind of just did a couple of turns until it's, snug. So yeah, just take your time. Be careful not to drop anything. If you do, hopefully it's not the end of the world. I was able to pick it up. I dropped it once. Okay, I finished putting in the struts. It's pretty straightforward, just time consuming. I also taped off where the bracket should sit on each side, and now it's just a 10 millimeter socket, just loosen. I already undid the connector here, so it was a little easier. There's one more connector here that I might have to remove. Sorry, not that one. I'll take a look after I loosen these bolts. Okay, so the latch. This part was supposed to be pretty easy, but it's kind of annoying. So first things first, do not push this down. Why? Because that's the trunk latch. Now, it will lock in place, and well, that you don't want that. So, I mean, worst case scenario, you just pull back, right? And it'll open it up again. I found out the hard way, so you guys don't have to. Now, this metal post thing, that's where one end of the spring goes. And now, the slightly annoying part, if I can show you guys real quick while holding my phone. Well, yeah, I'm doing this one-handed stuff. So bear with me here. Now, this part, that little cable thing, the silver cable of the ball and that little plastic piece, this goes onto that post. All right, so one more time. That circle thing right there, it goes on that metal post. It is a little short, so it keeps pulling the latch closed. So what you want to do is you want to take a wrench, loosen this a little bit, create a little bit more slack, just enough so that, I mean, if you have to use the emergency release, it'll still open.